Hello everyone and welcome back to our next reading of the Paninis of Pompeii. We are going to finish Theseus's stories today, so we're going to read Theseus's third story and his fourth story. Theseus's third story, Theseus and the Golden Armband. When I was a young man, I was a restless individual, began Theseus, and so it was that I joined the crew of a great ship and set to sea. It was a jolly life, Caecilius, full of merriment and carousing. Many was the night that I and the rest of the crew would sit out on the deck beneath the stars, and there we would trade jests and sing songs. In fact, it was a while I was aboard the ship that I learnt a fine song indeed, and it was a song which I would never forget for the rest of my life. "Let's hear it," roared Caecilius. "For it could be Hold on a moment. Was it the one about the foxes?" "Yes," said Theseus. "Okay, never mind about the song," bellowed Caecilius. "Please continue." "Certainly," said Theseus. "Now, some weeks into our voyage, Neptune himself became angry." "Hold on," said Caecilius. "Do you mean Neptune, the god of the sea, who in his fierce rages can cause the ocean to swell and thrash itself against the rocks, sinking ships and sending thousands of sailors to their deaths? Or do you mean Harry Neptune, who sells peanuts down at the marketplace?" "I mean Neptune, the god of the sea," said Theseus. "I've never heard of Harry Neptune." "Okay, sorry," said Caecilius. "Carry on." "But seriously, I can't get my head around what you just said," said Theseus. "I mean really, why would this Harry Neptune guy ever be in this story? Was he even a sailor before he became a peanut seller?" "No, I don't think so," said Caecilius. "Look, I said I was sorry. Carry on." "Very well," said Theseus. "So there we were, some weeks into our voyage, when suddenly Neptune himself, Neptune, the god of the sea, not Harry Neptune, who sells peanuts down at the market," he added quickly, seeing that Caecilius had lost track again and was about to jump in with a question. "Neptune became angry and sent down a storm so fierce that it won a year's finest storm of the year award. It was terrifying, terrifying, terrifying." "Was it terrifying?" inquired Caecilius. "Yes," said Theseus. "Now during this storm the ship was tossed and turned on the waves as if it was nothing more than a child's plaything. 100 sailors died aboard that vessel, which was strange, as we only started out with about 75. In the end, the only survivors were me, Tertius, the cook, and a slave called Boraniculus Culus, Ulus. The three of us were washed up on a craggy island, and it was there that Botanicorelius began his endless questions. "What is become of us?" "Botanicorellus would ask me. "I do not know, Botanicorellus I would reply. "But really, what is to become of us?" "Batalicarus would ask me again. "I am sorry, Botaniculus "I have just as little idea as you," I would reply. "Now please, Botanicorellus Stop with these questions. They are driving me and Teritus mad. Okay, said Botanicus, Alice, 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 us, Alice, Alice, us. And then, luckily, he fell into the sea and drowned. Now it was just me and Tereus, continued Phoebus, and I must admit I was scared. There were plenty of herbs and berries on the island, but I could not tell which ones were good to eat and which ones were poisonous. How on earth did you survive? Inquired Caecilius now. Well, fortunately, Tereus had been the ship's cook, as I said, replied Phoebus. He knew all about which herbs and berries were safe to eat, and while he was explaining this, I murdered him and ate him. His body fed me well for days, long enough for another ship to come along and rescue me, and when it did so, the crew gave me a golden armband, which all sailors who have been shipwrecked and yet survived are given as a reward. And that is how I come to have a golden armband. I see, said Caecilius thoughtfully. Well, Phoebus, you have explained yourself very well so far, but there is just one more question I have to put to you. Oh, where did you come to get that 200-foot statue of a swan? That seems to be incredibly similar to the one my son, Phileas, brought to the bath this very day. Ah, that's the easiest of all to explain, said Phoebus, and he began to tell his final tale. Phoebus's fourth story, Phoebus and the 200-foot statue of a swan. To be honest, I did actually steal the 200-foot statue of a swan from Phileas, said Phoebus. I'm sorry, I just really wanted it. Caecilius's astonishing verdict. Said Caecilius, when the gasps of all the other men in the public baths had finally died down, which didn't take long at all, because there were no gasps, and all were asleep, completely bored by the whole affair. You have done a brave thing today, Phoebus, said Caecilius. You have owned up to your crime, and seeing that you came by the other items honestly, I have decided to let you off with a warning this time, but be careful that you keep away from crime in the future, Phoebus, because the life of a criminal is unsuitable for a citizen of Pompeii. Capiche? Capiche, agreed Phoebus. So Caecilius awoke from the imperial shoemakers by smashing them in the ribs with a giant golf club, and they unlocked the public baths at last, and everyone ran free and proclaimed, Caecilius has judged Phoebus well and truly on this day. But Phoebus grinned to himself as he slunk back to his nest, because he had actually stolen all of those items, and this is why he was called Phoebus, because he was a thief. And I'll be back to hound that poor fool Caecilius again in the future, he laughed as he went. I am the cleverest thief who ever lived. The end. And we shall continue with the story. Over half term I shall post more videos to finish it off.